Hey guys, welcome to Let Hallie Read. Today's video, we're going to talk about the books that I want to read again. I have a really hard time reading books again because there are so many books that I haven't read that I just want to get to, but some books are just worth rereading. Just a few books that I am determined to reread this year alone. There's a lot more on my to be reread list, but I just wanted to go over just a few of them today. Let's just get into it. I've mentioned some of these books in my other videos. Let's go over them again and just go over the synopsis more in just a little bit more detail without spoilers. First book I'm going to read, Chronicles of Narnia. I'm going to reread Narnia this summer. I might do a video series talking about Narnia because I think a lot of people are very familiar with, of course, you know, the Chronicles of Narnia, the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. A lot of people aren't as familiar with The Magician's Nephew or like the later books where it gets very grown up and it gets very, very deep. So yeah, I plan on rereading the Chronicles of Narnia. If you don't know about this book, it's about four siblings, Lucy, Edmund, Peter, and Susan. I almost forgot their names because I haven't read this book in a really, really long time. They get sent over into Narnia through a wardrobe, and that's kind of where the whole story starts. It's set in World War II, and they have to be evacuated from their homes. Like a lot of children had to be back during this time in England. They go live with this old man, and he's got his own interesting backstory, which is in The Magician's Nephew, which you do need to read first. I believe The Magician's Nephew was published after The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, but it's technically a prequel to the series, and it's really good, and it sets just everything up. This is 7 books long. People don't realize that there are other books than just The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe and Prince Caspian. I made a joke the other day because Ben Barnes plays the Darkling in the new Shadow and Bone trilogy, and he also played Prince Caspian in the movie, and I joked to one of my Bookstagram friends that he is no longer Prince Caspian. Next one is a book that I've talked about in other videos, so I'm not going to spend too long on it, but it is Longborne by Joe Baker. The reason I want to read this again is because I've mentioned it in my other videos, and I thought, oh, I really love this book, and it's been a really, really long time since I've read it, so I want to read it. I won't go too much into it, because as I said, I talk about this book in like 2 other videos, and so I don't want to super duper repeat myself, but just really, really quickly, if you have not seen any of those videos, this is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice from the perspective of the Bennet servants. That's all I'm going to say about it. Next book that I want to read is a classic, which is 3 Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome. Published in 1889. It's a classic comedy where 3 men get on a boat and ride down the Thames, and a lot of chaos and nonsense ensues. The reason I want to reread this book is because I want to reread another book that references this one. I want to read To Say Nothing of the Dog by Connie Willis. It is a time travel book. And when they go back in time, they actually meet the men that are in this book or something of that nature. So it references back to this one. And so I want to read this one first so that I can kind of understand what was happening in To Say Nothing of the Dog. I've read To Say Nothing of the Dog. I really don't feel like I completely understood it or understood what was going on. I do love time travel stories, so I want to give it another try. And as I said, it references this one, so that's why I want to read this one first. The next set of books I actually don't own, but I will buy them because I want to collect them. 2 of them are actually from Neil Gaiman. I love Neil Gaiman, as you know, and I do want to buy all of his books. So I'm gonna reread Neverwhere because I actually didn't read it. I listened to it, not an audiobook. I think it was like a BBC script read, and Benedict Cumberbatch is in it, and Natalie Dormer is in it. And so I listened to Neverwhere, the script reading, but I've never actually read the book. I count it as reading the book because I know the story and I listened to all of it, but I want to read it and get another taste of it. In classic Gaiman fashion, it is a fantasy world set in a real world, which I actually really, really love that kind of storyline. And it's set in London, but then underneath the streets of London, there's like a whole other world with monsters and demons and saints. And so this guy gets a taste of what that world is like. And to be honest, other than that, I don't remember too much of it. Other Gaiman book I'm going to read is Good Omens. I really liked Good Omens, but I don't really feel like I gave it enough attention to really, really appreciate it. It is about Armageddon, and you have an angel and a demon, and they've become pretty good friends, and they are actually not too happy about the end of the world coming, you know, because they've found that they've enjoyed the world and what it offers. Really funny book, and the show is really good. I actually did not end up finishing the show, but I'm hoping that I will read it and then finish the show. And it's got, you know, the wonderful David Tennant and Michael Sheen in it, and it's so delightful. I also want to reread Northanger Abbey this year. When I was doing my Jane Austen video, I realized that I do not remember anything from Northanger Abbey. Couldn't really even tell you a synopsis or a summary of it, so I thought, well, maybe it's probably about time that I reread that if I can't remember the main plot. Lastly, I want to read A Series of Unfortunate Events, and I don't actually know if I'm going to get to that one this year. That might be a next year kind of thing. I don't know. It just kind of depends, because I do have a lot of books that I haven't read at all that I want to get to. I haven't read that book series since middle school. So really long time, but I loved it. I love the series. The Netflix show is really good. Neil Patrick Harris does an incredible job of playing Count Olaf. And I think that's it. That's kind of an overview of the books I want to read again. I don't know when I'm going to read some of those. I know Narnia is coming in the summer, but as I've said before, I'm a mood reader, so I just have to kind of see what tickles my fancy. Thanks guys, thanks for hanging out with me. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought about them, and I will see you next time.